All right, today we're tackling something huge. India's brand new data privacy law, the Digital Personal Data Protection Act. We'll just call it the DPDP Act. Now, this is a total game changer, not just for over 1 billion people in India, but really for any business anywhere in the world that deals with their data. So let's dive right in. So let me start with a quick story that might surprise you. A hospital located in Mumbai was hit with a massive fine under Europe's tough data laws. And you might be asking, how is that even possible? They're not in Europe. Well, it's a perfect example of how in our super-connected world, data laws just don't care about borders. It's a wake-up call that if you handle data, you're playing a global game with global rules.
And that brings us right back to India, because that global risk, it now has a very local and very large price tag. This number you see, 250 crore rupees, which is about 30 million US dollars, is the new maximum penalty. And get this, that's for a single data breach. That's not an accident. It's a very clear signal to the world that India is getting serious about enforcement, putting its penalties right up there with giants like GDPR. Suddenly, the stakes are incredibly high.
Now, to really understand India's new law, we need to zoom out for a second. You see, this isn't happening in a vacuum. It's actually part of this huge global trend, a kind of data crackdown on how our personal information is being used and sometimes misused.
All around the world, from Europe with its famous GDPR to new laws popping up all over Asia and in the US, governments are setting new rules for the digital road. And the big trends you're seeing here, like trying to get a handle on AI or getting much tougher on enforcement, these are the exact same global pressures that led India to say, okay, it's time for our own comprehensive playbook.
And this analogy, it's perfect. Every country is setting its own speed limits and traffic lights for data. Yeah, they might look a little different from place to place, but the basic goal is always the same: keep everyone safe. So the big question is, what are India's specific traffic rules? Okay, so with that global picture in mind, let's dive into India's answer, the Digital Personal Data Protection Act of 2023. This is now the official rulebook for data in the world's largest democracy.
And this law was a long time in the making. I mean, it didn't just pop up overnight. The journey actually started way back in 2018 with a first draft. From there, it went through multiple versions, tons of public feedback, and some pretty intense debates before it finally officially became law in 2023.
Before we go any further, we have to get 2 key terms straight, and it's super simple, really. The law calls you, the person whose data it is, the data principal. You are the principal character in the story. You own your data. And the company collecting it, a social media app, your bank, they're called the data fiduciary. They have a duty to protect your data. It's a simple change in words, but it's a huge shift in power. All right, so we've got the players. What are the new rules of the game? What does this all actually mean for you and for the businesses handling your information? This is where the law really starts to bite.
So take a look at this. This table shows how your new rights in India stack up against some of the big global standards. You now have the clear right to access a summary of your data, to correct it if it's wrong, and to ask for it to be erased. And here's a crucial one. You can withdraw your consent anytime, and the law says it has to be just as easy to take your consent back as it was to give it in the first place.
And what if a company just ignores you? Well, the Act sets up a really clear 3-step process. First, you complain directly to them, the data fiduciary. They get a 90-day window to sort it out. If they fail, or you're not satisfied, you can escalate your case to the brand new Data Protection Board of India, a powerful digital-first body designed specifically for enforcement.
Now, on the flip side, businesses have 3 main duties. 1, they have to get your clear and specific consent for a stated purpose. No more of those vague, bundled-up agreements. 2, they can only use your data for that one purpose. And 3, if there's a breach, a clock starts ticking. They have just 72 hours to report it.
But, like any huge piece of legislation, the DPDP Act isn't without its critics and its complexities. It raises some really big questions about the balance between our privacy, our security, and the power of the state.
And this right here is the central debate. The whole point of the law is to give citizens new data rights, but many critics point out that some parts of it also give the government significant new powers. So, which is it? You can see that tension laid out right here. On one side, citizens get new protections like clear rights and plain language notices. But on the other side of the scale, the state gets some serious new powers. For example, the Act gives broad exemptions to government agencies for things like national security. It also amends India's Right to Information Act, which could limit transparency. And on data localization, the rule about keeping data inside a country, the act is flexible, but it gives the government the power to restrict data transfers. It's a constant balancing act.
But here's the thing. A law is only as powerful as the people who actually use it. And this is the reality on the ground right now. A recent PwC survey found a huge awareness gap. Only about 16% of Indians really understand this new law, and more than half are completely unaware of the new rights they now have. For this act to truly work, that gap has to close. Big time.
So, for all the organizations out there watching this, what do you do now? The law is here, the clock is ticking. Let's get practical and walk through the steps for getting ready.
But first, it's about a shift in mindset. As Joseph Harrison says here, this isn't just about avoiding fines anymore. In this day and age, privacy is about building trust. The companies that get this right will have a massive competitive advantage. Compliance is the floor, trust is the ceiling.
So here is a practical 3-step roadmap. Step 1, assess. You have to know what data you have. Map out every piece of it, see where it's going, and identify your risks. Step 2, implement. This is where you actually do the work. Update your policies, redesign your consent forms, strengthen your security. And step 3, maintain. This is about training your people and, crucially, pressure testing that 72-hour breach response plan before you ever actually need it.
And we'll end with this question. The DPDP Act has fundamentally changed the game in India. It's written into law what many have been saying for years. Privacy is a fundamental human right. So as we all move into this new era, the biggest question for every organization is no longer just, are we compliant, but are we worthy of our users' trust? That is the real challenge ahead.